Hello, and welcome to another episode of a bigger Multiverse Spectrum podcast. I am host Garett Weston Thomas. I am essentially just going to talk about a few things here, starting with some recent reflections on attending. What do I call this? Well, on just knowing and attending the celebration for my dear former colleague, Rocky Robert Robinson, who for 11 wonderful years was the master engineer at the former, now dissolved, Peninsula Television. I don't really know how to even start describing everything and all things that he was certainly capable of, right as my phone starts buzzing in my pocket. However, some of the grandest things that he did allow the possibilities of included some things early on in our times there together, such as this wonderful technological program for ourselves called Public Domain Movie Night, where there were so many green screens behind us that I got to be the host of. And I'll try to maybe provide a link in the description of this. And it was even nominated for an award in San Jose. I basically kind of provided the intro for this, and then the majority of it wasn't anything more than things already in existence. Everything that I got to animate behind the scenes for what was behind me was really cool, and in a pseudo 3D format, and it still was all, I think, in a 4:3 standard definition format, because at that point, good old supervisor, but not done yet, Warren Slocum, was our president at the time. Rocky helped very much to set all of that up, and helped to narrate all of that as well with providing the voiceover. And we found so many set pieces in the backstage regions. It was just an awesome experience, as well as we kind of got to film some of the end sequences for this as well. We probably had like at least 4 different endings for this, which also just reminds me of the movie Clue, but that's a whole nother can of worms. There were other things as well that just remind me of Rocky, whether it was just the staircases in the backstage of Penn TV that went to nowhere, which were kind of like the Winchester Mystery House, just a little bit smaller, but there were actually very many staircases that went up or down. Some literally went to nowhere, and the other ones just didn't actually set off the alarm, at least at the time, because this now was over a decade ago, and also under a different Zamtran CEO, so I don't know if all of that has changed or whatnot. Just a few days ago, I saw that the seating actually looks more comfortable, so things have changed a bit. Anyway, I still am thinking quite a bit about Mr. Robinson, but at least at this point, I feel a bit better about it, and I can move past the visual aura that I experienced the morning of that one Friday, and that is well past. But I am just grateful that it's over for the moment, and I'm mid-process of transitioning my medication for my epilepsy, thanks to talking with my neurologist recently. So, on a completely different spectrum of notes, this is even more recently, because it was yesterday. It was very good news to learn of the letting go of Tucker Carlson from Fox News. I don't know if I'll be talking very much about all of this hoo-ha as this dog starts barking right now for the politicization, ideologies, etc. on this program per se, this podcast, but I don't think anybody was necessarily expecting anything beyond the three people last week to be let go after the Fox News settlement from Dominion. I think it was actually supposed to be initially well over $1 billion, but it was actually finally reached to be $787 million. But then just yesterday, Tucker Carlson still was let go. Some will say the word fired. And so that seemed to be like the big news of yesterday. We can even also mention Don Lemon in there for CNN, but I watched a news clip yesterday and it sounded very valid for what he said. I know he was working for a good 17 years there. Tucker Carlson, I think he's been fired now from 3 different networks. Yeah, I really have nothing more to say about that. On that wonderful note, I'm going to say that this hasn't necessarily established a whole lot in terms of the political news spectrum, but just to wrap things up as far as the poetic nature of very good actors. The great Jimmy Stewart read a poem that I'll also try to provide a link for about his wonderful dog, Beau, on an episode of Johnny Carson, The Tonight Show with Johnny Carson in 1981. And it's very worth watching, and it actually is in a style that kind of reminds me of how I write poetry today, whether it's for weddings or funerals. It kind of is in the style of what I might have written for Rocky, but didn't really get a chance to. It's in the style of almost Seussical Poems, so just click on that, and I'll leave you with that. Take care for now, and until next time, bye-bye.